Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are breaking down the unconventional mental models that the top 1% use to literally turn cash into, well, more cash. We're going to completely bypass that tired old myth that just working hard is your golden ticket to building real wealth, because, let's be honest, it isn't. Instead, we're looking at some specific, actionable shifts in how you view yourself, your time, and your money. Let's get right into it. So does working hard actually build wealth? We need to shatter this assumption right out of the gate. Waking up at 4 a.m. and grinding until your eyes bleed? That is not actually what makes you rich. Plenty of people work incredibly hard their entire lives and, sadly, never build wealth. The difference between the 99% and the 1%? It's not effort. It's a completely different mental model that governs exactly how they operate in the world. To get us there, we'll cover 5 crucial areas to shift your mindset off that hamster wheel of constant hustle. 1. The wealth identity shift. 2. Calculate your buyback rate. 3. Expand your time horizon. 4. The work backwards plan. And 5. Die empty, the giving habit. Number 1. The wealth identity shift. Think about this for a second. If 2 people are in the exact same scenario, the one who inherently feels worthy of the value they bring is the one who secures the opportunity. Period. The person with the average mindset? They stay quiet. Why? Because they don't feel they deserve it. Meanwhile, the person with the 1% mindset simply asks for the opportunity and boom, they get it. It sounds incredibly simple, right? But it's profoundly difficult if your internal identity is blocking you. Which brings us to a crucial point. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. No amount of fancy tactics, complex business strategies, or clever investments will ever fix a broken identity. Think about it. Have you ever met a truly wealthy person who didn't exude some level of deep, unshakable confidence? Ultimately, in this world, you get exactly who you believe you are. Building on that identity shift, we really need to unlearn the stingy mentality of hoarding money. So many of us treat money like, saving up rewards points at a local cafe that we never actually trade in for a free coffee. We just hoard them like it's a game. But acting like cash is this sacred pile that must be fiercely protected, that actually signals to the world that you aren't ready to receive more. It literally blocks wealth from flowing in. Money is energy, it's meant to flow in and flow out to improve your life. And the ultimate danger of that hoarding mentality can be quite literal. There's a crazy story from our sources about a man who ran an all-cash business. Because he believed cash had to be physically protected at all costs, he actually hid it inside the physical walls of his house. And tragically, the house caught fire. He lost absolutely everything. Your money needs to be out in the world acting like little worker bees, not stuffed inside a wall. Moving on to number 2. Calculate your buyback rate. Okay, this math right here is your mechanical turning point. Grab a pen if you need to. First, take your yearly income and divide it by 2,000. That's roughly the average number of hours a person works in a given year. That gives you your hourly rate. Next, take that hourly rate and divide it by 4. Why 4? Well, that guarantees a 4 times return on your investment for every dollar you deploy. That final number, that is your buyback rate. You must instantly delegate any task that costs less than that amount to outsource. Let me share a perfect example of this in action. There was a highly motivated team member, let's call him Jake. He was putting off a crucial strategy meeting because, get this, he hadn't done his laundry in 3 weeks and felt he just had to catch up on chores. The reality, the guy was making a couple $100,000 a year. Doing his own wash and fold was actively keeping him from high-value tasks that only he could do. Once he actually hired out his laundry and errands, he finally freed himself up to move his dreams forward. So the big takeaway here is that 90% of the time, the very first tasks you need to get off your plate are simple administrative chores. We're talking scheduling, basic email sorting, running errands. Other people can easily handle these things, which frees you up to operate at your absolute highest potential.
Number 3, expand your time horizon.
The timeline you use to judge your success actually dictates your result? Look at the difference here. While most average folks quit after a couple of weeks, months, or maybe 2 years if they're super persistent, the truly wealthy are playing a completely different game, one that compounds over decades. Real wealth doesn't come from quick one-time shots. It comes from long-term compounding, and compounding, by definition, requires time. To put this into perspective, our source mentions a conversation with an incredible 88-year-old man named Peter. Meeting Peter made the speaker realize that at 46 years old, they still had 42 massive years left to build before even reaching Peter's age. 42 years!
When you realize you have 40+ years to build, it completely changes the scale of the impact you can make. It takes the pressure off tomorrow and puts the focus on the decade.
This right here illustrates exactly why patience is mandatory. For instance, it took 11 years of sheer dedication to build a massive YouTube following. Look at that growth. It was essentially flat for 8 long years. I mean, most people would have thrown in the towel at year 2 or 3, right? But because their horizon was a decade long, they stayed the course, which directly led to that explosive exponential growth in the final 3 years.
Number 4, the work backwards plan.
So how do we tackle those massive time horizons? You start by writing out a 25-year vision. And you need to make it so crystal clear, so specific, that you can describe it as easily as the room you are sitting in right now. Once you have that massive, fail-proof vision, you sequence it backwards. You go from 25 years, down to 10 years, to 3 years, to 1 year, all the way down to what you need to achieve this specific quarter. And this framework completely destroys overwhelm. When you feel paralyzed by that huge future vision, you just pick your MIS, your most important next step. It's the single tiny action that starts the domino effect. If your long-term goal involves a relationship, for example, maybe your MIS is literally just going out to get a fresh haircut so you feel confident enough to start dating. It's really just about finding that one simple action.
Once you have your minds, you have to default to action within the next 48 hours. Why the urgency? Because a lack of discipline is a massive dream killer. Did you know that most podcasts actually die after just 9 episodes? 9. People do all the heavy lifting to start, they get to episode 9, realize it feels like actual work, and they just quit. The people who win in life simply stay with things longer than they think they should.
And finally, number 5, die empty, the giving habit.
Because really, what is the point of a rich life if you are entirely alone? A client once brought in a 25-year vision board literally plastered with yachts, private planes, and luxury cars, but it featured 0 people. He completely missed the point. True wealth isn't just about hoarding toys. It involves creating millionaires around you and sharing your success. If you're worth $1 billion, you should have a circle of people around you worth 10 million, simply because you helped lift them up.
And this habit starts long before you are wealthy. Our source shares a really powerful story from when they were just 14 years old. Their dad gave them a $20 bill for a haircut, but they chose instead to give it to a homeless man on the street. Why? Well, they knew instinctively that if they didn't have the heart to give when they only had a little bit of money, they would never magically become a giver when they had a lot. So here is exactly how you build that giving habit today, right now. First, pick a specific percentage of your income to give away. Maybe it's a scary 10%, or maybe it's a more comfortable 1%. Second, choose a cause that helps people who are currently in the dark places you used to be. Helping your past self is basically the ultimate purpose. And finally, you must give before you feel ready or comfortable. Just do it.
Because ultimately, if you want anything out of life, whether that's money, health, or deep loving relationships, the absolute fastest way to get it is to help other people get it first. Let that sink in. The 99% wait to get rich before they give. The 1% become rich because they give. Giving is not what you do after you win. Giving is the very mechanism that creates the winning identity in the first place.
So, we've rewired your identity. We've calculated exactly how to buy back your time, we've stretched your time horizon out to decades, and we've anchored the whole thing with the ultimate goal of giving. Wealth is absolutely your birthright, but unlocking it demands a firm, unshakable decision to change your daily habits and how you view the world. The roadmap is laid out right here. So my final question to you is, will you have the courage to actually claim it?